Hello, Charger families. I am Matt Murphy. I'm an assistant principal here at Dow High School, and I'm coming this week to talk to your students, your incoming ninth graders, about scheduling for next year. So, per the communication that you got last Friday, we'll be doing this on Tuesday of this week, meeting with the kids. Getting these course request sheets filled out and turned in at the end of the week to social studies teachers. This presentation will be happening during social studies classes. And then we will be back the following Tuesday, the 24th, to sit down with the students and enter all of this information into the system so that we're ready to go for next year. So these are the slides that I'm going to be going through with your students, and just wanted to quickly go through some of those with you as well. One thing I want to point everybody to is the secondary course offering guide, which is found on the Midland Public Schools website. You can get there, there's a link here to midlandps.org, and if you type secondary course offering guide in the search, it will come up. You can also get there through, the parent tab, scrolling down to curriculum, and then scrolling down to high school and getting it from there. But this is the document that has all of the secondary course descriptions, including the middle school ones. But if you're interested in the progression of specific classes in specific areas, like for example, what are the progressions that a student could take if they're really interested in art, and what things are prerequisites to what, then this would be a document I would guide everybody to have a better understanding of that. As you think about the long-term scheduling for grades 10, 11, and 12, right now, as we focus on just ninth grade, we're only going to be looking at the courses that are available to ninth graders. Many of those are, prerequisites perhaps to other things. So it's definitely good to take a look at that and understand what types of courses are out there. As you get your core classes out of the way, to some effect, a lot of them in your 9th and 10th grade year. I'll have a slide on that here real quickly that kind of gives you an idea of the core things that you need to take, as well as all the different categories that we need. But you want to open yourself up to junior and senior year options. So if you're interested in the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, dual enrollments, we have the Early Middle College Program, work-based learning. There's just a lot of this stuff that is described there, and a little bit more information on stuff like that I'd want to make sure you put on your radar. So again, that's more longer term type stuff, but again, as you think about, hey, what could my high school career look like that 4 years, as you're having those conversations with your student, this is a great place to go to and get information on how that would look. So here we have the graduation requirements. There's a 22 credit hour graduation requirement. Every semester, each course that you take is half of a credit. It's pretty typical to take a 6-hour day every year, and let's say you pass every class that you have throughout the year, whether it's year-long courses or a tandem of semester-long courses. You basically, if you pass everything your freshman year and you had a 6-hour day, you would earn 6 credit hours. Multiply that out by the 4 years that you're here, and if you passed everything, you'll actually graduate with 24 credits. Some of you might be a little bit ahead on your credit earning because you're cross-graded in math or you're in your world languages right now, but these are the categories. You have to have 4 credits of English, right? Typically 9th grade English 10th, 11th, and 12th, of course. Same thing with math, algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and a senior math or math-related course. You must have a senior math or math-related course during your actual senior year. So if you're cross-graded in math right now, you'll still have to have something in your senior schedule because you must take a 6-hour day that falls in this category. So maybe you've already finished your, Calc AB or something like that as an 11th grader. That might be you taking Calc BC. And back in that secondary course offering guide, there's a giant list as well of all the courses that fall in the math-related course category, and there's quite a few. So I would encourage you to take a look at that so you kind of have an understanding of what things might fall in place for that senior math or math-related course. 3 credits in science. Biology is the 9th grade course. You have to take a chemistry course or physics, one or the other, one of the physical sciences. And then there's a 3rd additional science credit. So, that might be if you took chemistry, maybe you want to take physics the following year, and that would satisfy, the physics would satisfy the additional science credit. Maybe you were like me, and in high school, I took biology, then I took chem, and then I took advanced biology, my junior year, and that would have been my additional science credit. And then I took physics my senior year and took a 4th science credit, and that fell in the general elective category there, which you see you have to have 4 credits of general electives. From a social studies standpoint, 9th grade world history. In 10th grade, you take U.S. history. At 11th grade, you take a semester of government and a semester of econ. We do have a requirement for half of a credit of lifelong fitness. That means that half a credit is a semester-long course. So you take that. Most 9th graders take that and get that prerequisite out of the way. I'll talk about that a little bit later because it opens up some additional PE classes. And then the half credit of health and wellness, that's required for everybody as well. So it's very typical to get that out of the way during your freshman year as well. There is a 1 credit requirement for visual performing and applied arts. So there's a number of things that fall in that category. Again, that is in the secondary course offering guide. 2 credits of world language. There's some different ways to achieve the 2 credits of world language that I'll talk about in a little bit. But if you're doing the 2 credits, it's got to be the same language both years. So if you start with Spanish, you need the second year to also be Spanish. You don't jump to a different one. So what I mean by that is you can't take French 1 and Spanish 1 and have that count as your 2 credits of world language. They must be within the same world language. So, and again, I already touched on the general credits there, 4 general credits up there. So those are 22 credit hours if you add those up. So here, this kind of gives you an understanding of what, my core course progression is going to look like in the 4 core courses, right? Your English, your math, your social studies, and your science. You can see on the front end of things, right, 9th and 10th grade, 4 out of 6 of your hours are going to be occupied by those core classes, and to some effect, probably 11th grade as well. Once you've got those 3-year, like the science and the social study core courses out of the way, you can see that senior year, you're really just down to likely taking an English class and then your math or math-related course that you have to have in your schedule there. Again, as you pick up your different electives that you choose to take here in 9th and 10th grade that will fall into some of those categories that we talked about. For example, maybe as a 9th grader, I'm taking band. That band class is going to satisfy my first requirement of a 1 credit for visual performing and applied arts. If I continue to take band past that as a 10th grader and 11th grader in my schedule, that VPAA credit was already achieved. The additional band courses that you take would just fall in that general elective category. So this kind of gives you an idea of the layout of that type of stuff. Again, remember that 1 credit of health and wellness and lifelong fitness, and then the 1 credit of visual performing and applied arts, and 2 credits of the same world language are required sometime during your 4 years. So like I said, it's very common for health and wellness and lifelong fitness to be the 5th class period that you take during your freshman year, and then the other one as well, whatever that elective is that you're filling out on your sheet here. So that's how your days for the most part look when it comes down to your core classes. And here is the makeup of the school day. So typical 6-hour day. This has been in place, ever since I went through Midland Public Schools, timing and everything else like that. Classes are typically 55 minutes long. The only exception is 3rd hour in both buildings because announcements are built into those. Because of the size of the school, we have to stagger a lunch. So we have 2 lunch periods here. Some students take what's called first lunch. That's after their 3rd hour. And then the other half of the school reports immediately to their 4th hour. So you can kind of see that in the middle of the schedule here. Or you do the opposite, right? You have the second lunch because you reported the 4th hour first, and you're taking the second lunch period. So they're off staggered by their start times by an hour. So first lunch, if you have that, starts at 10:53 to 11:23. Second lunch is 11:53 to 12:23. Passing times are 6 minutes between each of the classes. Lunch periods have passing on the front end and the back end of that. So while they look like they are half of an hour in there, there's about 11 additional minutes. So it's about a 41, 42-minute stretch for lunch right there. We do have an open campus. Many of you know that. That means, those of you that have older siblings, or friends that can drive, you're able to leave campus during that stretch, and it's your responsibility to get to Taco Bell or wherever it is you go and get back in time to make it to your next hour. So you see at the bottom, we do run a few 7th-hour class periods every year. It's pretty typical that we have 3 or 4 of them going, and quite often it's a freshman level class that we run. So as you look at your course recommendation sheet and you're thinking about things you want, if you're wanting to squeeze an additional elective somewhere in your schedule, then you might want to look on that course selection sheet, and where it says, do you want a 7th hour, circle yes. And then obviously make the additional course requests within your course recommendation form to account for that 7th hour. It's always a core class. So it might be, right now, I think we have a world history class this semester that is running 7th hour, and we have an English 9A class that is run 7th hour, and we've done science before as well. So that's the typical school day. The building itself opens at 7:20. So we let everybody in at 7:20 in the morning, and then at the end of the day, bus comes and picks up at 2:31 or whatever, and departs out here. If you do take a 7th hour, please understand that there is no transportation provided by the school. There's no busing. If you have a 7th hour class, you need to find a ride home. All right, as you're looking at your course selection sheet, you're going to see up in the top left, there's some information right up at the top, and some of the stuff we're going over. In the middle was the graduation requirements. I already went through those. But for the selection sheet itself, as you're looking at this, a few things that you need to make sure that you understand. If the course title is capitalized completely, then it's considered a full year class. All right, so you'll have semester 1 of that, and then you'll have semester 2 of that class. Like concert band is an example of something that's fully capitalized on there, and that's because it's a year-long class. If you see that the course title is mostly lowercase letters, right? It's capitalized the first letter, and then it's lowercase after that. That is a 1-semester class. So as you look down at the course selection sheet and you look at lifelong fitness, or you look at health and wellness, you will see that they are indicated that way. Because each of those is a semester, if you're looking at elective classes, you need to make sure you've got the right combination of things. So if I choose a full year class, I can choose another full year class, right? And that will be considered 2 hours. But if I have lowercase letter classes like that, then I need to make sure I choose 2 of them so that I'm filling up my schedule with 2 half-credit courses to add up to the 1 credit. So if you see past them, if you see DHS next to them, then that course is offered district-wide at the high schools, but it's only taught at Dow High. So automotive, car care, stuff like that, you're going to see a DHS next to that. If you see an MHS next to that, then it's taught only at Midland High. What that means is there'll be some travel for your student between Midland High and Dow High, and how their day is split. I'll go over that in a little bit also. Some of the classes you'll see have letter designations past them, which means they are an accelerated class. And then if you see an H past that, that's an honors class. If you see an asterisk next to something, that there's an application process for that, or some sort of written approval to join that course, student leadership being an example of something like that. So where you see that, you must have some written approval to do that, or you must audition. Like if you look at some of the offerings for the musics, if you want to get into symphonic, You got to audition in order to do that, and then you'll be placed in symphonic band instead, or orchestra. All right, so as you look at those courses that interest you that say MHS after them, obviously they're being offered to run at Midland High School. What that means is I have to concurrently enroll you in both buildings. Logistically speaking, how that looks is if that course, based off of how they build their master schedule, is offered in the morning, by that I mean hours 1 through 3, then I've got to schedule you hours 1 through 3 over at Midland High. And then what you do is you board a transfer bus back here after third hour, which is going to dictate your lunch being kind of that first lunch period, because there's going to be travel built into that. There is an AM shuttle bus, like it says at the bottom, transfer buses between the high school. So if you get here and need to be bused over there, that's an option. That question comes up quite a bit. And that runs at 7:20 a.m., which is, right when our building is opening over here. So you would get dropped off at Dow High, you'd enter the specific bus that is taking you over to Midland High School. They're doing the exact same thing. They've got students who are coming over here for courses that are only offered here, and they're entering their transfer bus. PM wise, if the course ends up being offered in the afternoon, then you're going to get on a transfer bus here during lunchtime, because your hours 1 through 3 are going to be over at DHS, or even possibly 1 through 4, but typically 1 through 3, and then you'll go to MHS for the afternoon and have your elected course that you were looking at over there, and probably another one of your core courses. All right, so some of you who have gone through the system here at Midland Public Schools, or you have a little bit of exposure to this, might be familiar with this already, but if you're new to this, just have understanding of these, what's called point levels. This is, if you see an A or an H next to something, right, you can see that accelerated is up there and is considered a 0.3 course, and honors is considered 0.4. And that's where the A and the H come from. That every one of our courses is college and career preparatory. So if you look at what's considered a 0.2 class, all of these 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4, high school standards are being covered here, right? All of the core standards that need to be taken care of for college and career prep are being taken care of here. In terms of what you do is it's just a change of pacing, right? So if you choose an accelerated class versus a regular. So I'll use on your course selection sheet, you see there's an option for which biology are you going to take, and obviously your teachers are giving you a course recommendation, your science teachers right now, about which one they think is the best fit for that based on how you're doing. Biology that doesn't have an A next to it is considered a 0.2, right, or this a regular paced course, right? The accelerated biology A is going to cover obviously everything that biology did, the 0.2 version of that. It's just going to be, the pace is going to be a little bit faster. Because of that, you can start to get into some of the additional essential standards that aren't considered core, but would be additional topics that would be included. As you progress through, you might see things like, particularly in math, as you get into the higher levels, that actually all 3 of these levels exist for something. So again, as you get to the honors, it's an additional pace and depth that would be included that goes beyond that even of the accelerated. But please understand that all of these courses are all college and career preparatory for your student. Now there's some stuff that happens with grade point average in there and how those are weighted. So if you've heard of weighted grades, that concept is covered in the secondary course offering guide. So I'm not going to take the time to talk about that here. But go ahead and look there, and it'll give you a little bit of understanding of what each grade means, letter grade, at each one of these categories for a class. So here's kind of the middle portion of your course selection sheet. So here's your 4 core. What you'll notice is that there are pre-circled things on here. So English 9A is already circled, and World History, Social Studies 3200 is already circled on there. So these are the courses that all of you are going to be taking for your English and your social studies. What we need for recommendation purposes is to know what math you're being recommended into, and those are all the different options that are up there. Those of you that are cross-graded, you're going to have some sort of recommendation for geometry or geometry H. Those of you that are not will be having a recommendation for, algebra or algebra A. And you can see, kind of like I was talking in the previous slide about biology, there's biology and there's biology A. So that biology SC 3200 that's listed first is right the 0.2 class, if you will, and the biology A is the 0.3 class, if you will. World language recommendations, when those come, those should be written here. So there's a few options for that. I'm going to go over those in a minute. But again, this is your teacher recommendations for these things. There are some special circumstances for other students that might be taking a different English, math, science, or social studies, but those are pretty specific, so I'm not going to be covering those. I talked about PE and health and wellness a little bit before. I want to go back ahead and curl back around. So health and wellness is a one-semester class. It's required. There is no exemption for that. One thing I want to note is sometimes to free up the schedule in 9th grade. Like I said, many people take it in 9th grade. We have some people where it doesn't necessarily fit in their schedule at that time, and they end up taking it as a 10th grader. I know some students do enroll in a summer school and take it before 9th grade to get that off of their schedule so that they don't have to worry about it as they get into high school itself. So it frees up a semester course somewhere along the way. Some people will take it as an e-learning course somewhere in their progression if it didn't fit. For example, if it didn't fit in 9th grade and for some reason didn't fit in 10th grade, it might be taken as an e-learning option or something like that, maybe during a 7th hour or whatever. So that's an option. The lifelong fitness is a one-semester class. It's a required class. You must take that one before you take any other PE class. Now, with this one, there are possible ways to waive basically taking this class. If you do a sport during high school, you can earn the credit for lifelong fitness. If you do full year band, that can be the lifelong fitness requirement there. But if you're interested in additional PE courses beyond lifelong, you have to physically take the course. All right, so if I'm an athlete and I wanted to take team sports and conditioning, I wouldn't be able to take those courses if I waived myself out of lifelong fitness by taking and playing a sport. So if team sports and conditioning and weight training electives are something that you're interested in, then you definitely want to take lifelong fitness. Now, if you look on the course selection sheet, you'll see that team sports and conditioning or weight training are listed there for you. Those are typically year-long courses, but they can be available as a semester-long course. If you're interested in that, what we need to make sure happens is that your lifelong fitness will be in first semester, so that second semester you can enter semester 2 of team sports or semester 2 of conditioning and weight training. And then you could take those courses again somewhere, down the line. So if you want to take them again as 10th graders, you might be able to do that again, depending on what other things you need to take. Here are your world language electives. You can see there's quite a few offerings there, right? Some of you may be engaging in these courses right now. Remember, there is at least a one credit requirement, though 2 credits is what's stated to be needed. So there are ways to substitute out an additional VPAA credit for year 2. Versus taking, the second year of something. It just means you would need 2 years of visual and performing art and applied science credit in order to satisfy the additional credit requirement for that. So that's explained a little bit up at the top in the middle of the course selection sheet, the description of the, what courses you must take. And if you go down to the VPAA credit, it discusses this a little bit. So you can see we've got Survey of Spanish 1 and Survey of Spanish 2. Those are considered 0.2 courses or general courses. Spanish 1, 2, and 3A, those all have an A next to them, so they're considered 0.3 courses. We have German 1 and German 1A. We have German 2 and German 2A. And then by the time you get to German 3, that's a 0.3 course. If you're interested in French, same thing. There's a French 1 and French 1A, and then a French 2 and a French 2A, and then a French 3A. Those are all offered at MHS. So if you're interested in that, you'll have a half day at MHS and a half day over here. And then Mandarin is a newer offering that we have. So those course selections are down there. Same thing, 1 and 1A, 2 and 2A, and then a 3A. Like anything else, we run based off of numbers. So as we look at course selections and stuff like that, that'll give us a better gauge of how many classes of a certain section that we can offer. Here are your music electives. You can see that everything's capitalized all the way across, so you know that they're all year-long courses. We've got concert band, we've got chorus, we've got concert orchestra. Those are available to everybody. The recommendation, obviously, is that you probably had some music during middle school to go into those. You can see there are asterisks next to symphonic band, concert choir, and symphonic orchestra. Those are tryout based, so some of you may be doing your tryouts and you might be placed into symphonic instead of concert. But predominantly those of you that are going into the music category of your choice there are probably going to go into the concert versions of each of those. Here you see a lot of the business electives, education electives that are open down at the 9th grade level. A combination of things that are all capitalized and things that are capital and lowercase. So marketing is marketing and marketing A, right? Point 2 and point 3 are available. Those happen to be available grades 9 through 12. Computer technology 1 and 1A, 2 and 2A. Those are semester-long courses. Same thing with merchandising ops and sales management. You can see that accounting is all capitalized. The one thing that's important to note here is that it's going to be important as you look at classes, and if you're interested in these, to make sure that you put them down, but also be having alternate courses that you might like to be in. Because these are open grades 9 through 12 for all of these, the prioritization of having students in them is going to go to grades 12 and 11 first, then 10, and then 9. So there's a possibility that while you may elect to take this class, if we have to trim a few students out of there to run a certain number of sections on that, then the upperclassmen are going to get priority on those. We also have county kids that come in to do some of our CTE stuff, and these are some of the classes that they take as well. So important to have some additional alternatives in mind as you are looking at your course selection sheet. So you'll see that down on the bottom there. Hey, what alternate do I want? Please be listing alternates to your schedule so that we can make sure we fill up with the stuff that you're interested in. Because if we don't know what you're interested in as an alternate, we have to do our best guess if we have a situation where a class is full, or if it doesn't work in your schedule the way the schedule ends up getting built and stuff like that. So alternates are very important. These are some of the language arts and art electives that are available to you. So journalism is a year-long class. Drama 1, drama production, debate and discussion, which has an asterisk next to it, which is by recommendation. Those classes would be semester-long, whereas journalism is a year-long. Art-wise, beginning art, very typical for people to take that. Yes, it would satisfy your VPAA credit. It is a visual art. And that's available to you. Some might get recommended into intermediate art by your current art teacher. So if that's the case, we would want to see the recommendation coming from your middle school art teacher to put you in intermediate art. Industrial ed-wise, introduction to trades and hobby art welding. Those are a good tandem to take if you're interested in those things as 9th graders over at MHS, if it can fit into your schedule. So, those are going to be traveling classes. And to have those in tandem means that we could keep your schedule intact for, all year of going over to MHS for hours 1 through 3 or 4 through 6, however that looks. Woodworking is available over there as well, right? That one is a year-long class. That's why it's all caps. We have car care over here. That's a semester-long course that's available to you as a 9th grader. So if you're interested in that, you're welcome to do that. We also have Intro to Engineering Design offered over here. That is a year-long course as well. Some of your math electives and miscellaneous electives that you see on your sheet. Computer Science Essentials is a year-long class. Algebra 1 Seminar is a class that might be recommended by your math teacher. So we'd be looking for some recommendations for that one versus necessarily electing to take it, but it would be additional support in algebra. Computer Science 1A and 2A are semester-long courses. Those might be selected in tandem. As some of your choices there. Yearbook and student leadership, you can see have application process, so those forms are available to you if you're interested in those. I just want to touch on athletic eligibility. Athletics a little different at the high school than it is at the middle school with respect to seasons and what's offered. There's certainly more offerings for athletes at the high school level than there are at the middle school level. In terms of eligibility, grades are very important, right? So as we're earning credits towards graduation and everything else like that, we must also be currently passing at least 4 of our classes in that semester. As semesters in high school accumulate, then we keep looking as an athlete for your eligibility that you passed, 4 classes during the marking period or the semester. The lowest possible threshold for a passing grade is considered a D-. That's also the lowest possible grade for credit earning as well, as you're thinking about, earning credits towards, your 22 credit graduation requirement. Fall season wise, we've got quite a few offerings here for everybody. So cross country is there, football, soccer, and tennis. Cheerleading, golf, pom-pom, swimming, and volleyball are also available. Winter-wise, basketball runs in tandem with one another. There is hockey and boys swimming and wrestling is available. And then over here, cheerleading, pom-pom, and wrestling is available as well. Then here in the spring season, boys, we've got baseball, golf, lacrosse, and track. And girls, you have soccer, softball, tennis, track, and lacrosse as well. Not sure why that isn't showing up there. So that's it from an athletic standpoint. Again, lots of offerings. I covered our robust music programs that we have here that are exceptionally impressive. Many of you are probably well aware of that. Always in awe of what they do there. Then just clubs and activities. There's kind of a revolving list of what's available each year, and clubs pop up kind of all the time. Really, all you need is an interest and a sponsor. So some clubs are long-standing and have been going on for a long time, whether that's academic stuff like any, National Honor Society or Key Club or something like that. Go Green is a club that has, spanned many years and meets quite often. And then we get new clubs that pop up because of interest. So if there's a club that you're interested in, if it's already existing, obviously join that. If it's an interest of yours and there's not already a club like that, you just need to get an advisor, fill out some paperwork, and then we can get that club up and running. But lots of offerings here at Dow High. I encourage all students to get involved in their school in some way outside of just their courses and stuff like that. So I appreciate your time. That's all I'm covering here today, and we look forward to seeing your student here next year. Thank you very much.